Hello everyone, welcome to IELTS Speed Up course offered by Thompson School. Today you will have lesson number 5 and this is first class of IELTS reading. Okay, in today's lesson we'll go through test format of IELTS reading, question types that you may have in IELTS reading, of course basic exam techniques that you should follow regardless the question type, and of course the most important thing, scoring table. You will find out how many correct answers you need to get desired score. And of course in today's lesson we will go through gap fill questions. Okay, so IELTS reading test format. What you will have. You should remember that you will be given 3 passages and 1 hour to complete all 3 passages that contain 40 questions. You should remember that you will not be given extra time to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. So you should manage your time wisely. IELTS reading is not just about reading but also time management. So you should develop your fast reading skills and comprehension. Okay, let's look at the rules. Read the passages and answer questions about the information. This is the main idea behind IELTS reading tests. Okay, you will be tested on your reading comprehension. What does that mean? Understanding the text without translating it. Okay, next, you will be tested on your understanding of written English. So written language is slightly different from spoken and the level of vocabulary is different. So you should be practicing, enriching your vocabulary, and this is the key to success in IELTS reading. Okay, let's see how it is marked. So as you know, in IELTS Speed Up our aimed score is minimum 6, meaning that you need at least 6.5 from reading, and of course you should have minimum 27 correct answer, but the more the better. You should keep this in mind. Okay, these are basic exam techniques that you should have and follow all the time throughout your preparation and real IELTS test. So first, do not read the passage first. This is the main and, let's say, important rule, because you should first find out what kind of questions you'll experience in this passage. Okay, next, just read the titles, because titles will tell you a lot. Sometimes you may have texts that are really uncomfortable for you, and sometimes you will be able to see and read texts that are quite comfortable. Sometimes students feel themselves really confident when they are reading texts about technologies because they have general background on this field. Okay, next, you should go to the first question. Okay, next, underline keywords, because in IELTS reading, working with keywords will help you a lot to get desired score. And of course, search for those words in the passage, because you don't have to spend time on reading the passage. As I said before, you should manage your time wisely. So next part of exam techniques. So after finding and highlighting keywords in the question, you should try to spot them in the text. After finding this part from the text, you should underline them and read that part of the passage carefully. You should analyze it and use all your skills, vocabulary to understand the meaning of this part, and of course try to get answer. So this is very important thing. Okay, these are extra tips that might be helpful for you in your IELTS reading preparation. So first, you should read at normal speed. As I mentioned it before, you should always think about time management, but it doesn't mean you should read really fast. Read at a speed that is comfortable for you. Depending on the level of IELTS candidate, every individual has his or her own reading rate, so you should be able to find your comfort here. And of course, next thing, only skim or scan for names or numbers. Never go deep into the text because it is first of all time consuming, and sometimes for students it is useless. So try to search for information that is important to answer the question. Okay, and of course, miss any difficult questions. Yes, indeed. Sometimes if the question is difficult and you cannot find answer, you can skip these questions because, as I said before, you should also manage your time. So let's go through question types that you may have in your IELTS reading. First, this is filling in the gap question types. You might be given table, note, summary, diagram, or sentence, and of course you should fill in the gap. Okay, next question type is really interesting and sometimes tricky. This is true, false, not given questions with yes, no, not given questions. And when it comes to the difference between these question types, we will analyze them in a more detailed version in the next lesson. Okay, multiple choice, so you will be given question with possible answers and you should select appropriate answer. And next, matching paragraphs heading and matching paragraph information. These two question types can be quite similar, but there is slight difference between them, and this is what makes these question types interesting. And next, matching sentence endings. So you will be given first half of the sentence and you should match it with the other half after reading the passage. Okay, next, matching other features such as names or years. For example, you might be given certain event and after reading the text you should determine when it happened. Or sometimes you will be given speech of certain, let's say, scientist or professor, and you should match who said this after reading the text. Okay? Next question type is short answer question. These questions require from students answer the questions themselves after reading the passage. And of course, you should keep in mind that reading test is marked by certified markers and you will be rewarded 1 point for each correct answer in the 40-item test. And of course, you should also remember that you should transfer your answers to an answer sheet and you should have clear handwriting, because any ambiguity and if it's not clear or precise will be penalized in IELTS reading. Okay, as I promised before, we will focus on gap fill question type today. So you should remember that you might have 4 different types or varieties of this question type. First type is fill the gaps with words from the passage. Your task will be to read the passage, select appropriate word and fill the gap. So next, fill the gaps to label a diagram. So you probably understand what is diagram, and this diagram will be described or explained in a very detailed way in the passage. So you should read and write appropriate words in the gaps. And of course, next question type, filling the gap with words from a list or box. So you will be given question and potential answer to this question. So after reading the text, you should choose words from the list or box and fill the gap. Filling the gaps in a table. You probably understand what is table, and again, you should read the passage and select appropriate words. So let's practice. Here you can see the passage, indoor farming. Probably you understand what is farming and what is indoor. There is outdoor, means outside, and there is indoor. As I said before, the basic rule in IELTS reading is before you read the passage, you should go to the questions, okay? Here we have questions regarding the indoor farming. First, we should read them carefully and then try to highlight keywords. But before, so complete the sentences below, and we have instructions. Choose no more than 2 words, okay? So 2 words. Okay, you should write maximum 2 words. So question number 1. Some food plants, including something, so this is going to be noun, okay, are already grown indoors. So you should read the passage and find a place where they are talking about indoor farming and what types of food plants are grown indoors, specific type, okay? So after highlighting keywords in the question, we should move to the text, okay? If you remember, we should spot type of food plants that are already grown indoor, okay? The concept of indoor farming is not new, since hothouse production of tomatoes and other products has been in vogue for some time. So what they want to say in this sentence, okay? The indoor farming is not new industry. They have been practicing it for certain period already. So what types of food plants are grown indoor already? So it says production of tomatoes and other products. So the answer is tomatoes. Okay, if you remember, we should write type of food plants that are already grown indoors. So this is tomatoes. Next, vertical farms would be located in. So this is noun, meaning that there would be less need to take them long distance to customers. So let's first analyze question. You should know that here we should write location of these vertical farms. So keyword here is vertical farms, and of course their location, where they will be located, meaning that there would be less need to take them long distances to customers. So you should find part of a text where it is written about advantages of vertical farms and their location, so you don't have to deliver them to customers. Okay, let's move to the text. Okay, this is the text again, and if you remember, we should spot part of the passage where it is written about location of vertical farms that will be advantageous or beneficial because you don't have to deliver them to clients or customers. Okay, you should remember that answers will come in order, so we continue reading. What is new is the urgent need to scale up this technology to accommodate another 3 billion people. Many believe an entirely new approach to indoor farming is required, employing cutting-edge technologies. One such proposal is for the vertical farm. So this is the key words that we should find. The concept is of multi-story buildings in which food crops are grown in environmentally controlled conditions. Situated. So this is synonym for the word located. Situated in the heart of urban centers. So these vertical farms are located in the city centers. So this is the location. They would drastically reduce the amount of transportation required to bring food to consumers. So instead of delivering, they used word transportation. So the answer is urban centers. Okay, so this is the question and the answer is going to be urban centers. Okay, cool. Let's move to the next question. Vertical farms could use methane from plants and animals to produce something. So you need noun here, and of course in the text we should find the word methane with vertical farms and what they can produce from methane from plants. Okay, let's move to the text. Okay, in the previous question I read the text, but now I would like to move to skimming and scanning. And if you remember, the key word in the question number 3 was methane. So let's find it. Okay, you can look at the text and find this word. Okay, I give you 30 seconds. Okay, I believe you found the word methane in the text. Okay, now we should read around this keyword. Although the system would consume energy, it would return energy to the grid via methane generation from composting non-edible parts of plants. And if you remember, in the question we had to identify what they can produce from methane from plants. So as you can see, it says it would return energy to the grid via methane. So they can generate energy using methane from plants. Okay, the answer for the question number 3 is energy. Now, let's move to the next question. The consumption of something, so this is going to be noun, would be cut because agricultural vehicles would be unnecessary. So, in the next question, we should find word vehicles, so transportation, that will help to cut something, okay? Because we are not using vehicles, cars, trucks, something will be reduced in amount. So we should identify what is this. And keyword here is vehicles and, okay, consumption of something. Let's move to the text. Okay, if you remember, in the text we should find word vehicle or transport or other synonyms, and logically we should continue reading. So we found answer for the previous question in this sentence, so let's continue. It would also dramatically reduce fossil fuel use by cutting out the need for tractors, plow and shipping. So these words are very good synonyms for the word transportation or agricultural vehicle. So what will be cut? So reduce fossil fuel. So the answer is fossil fuel. Okay, the answer is fossil fuel. Okay, the consumption of fossil fuels would be cut because agricultural vehicles would be unnecessary. So let's move to the next question type. Okay, this is diagram labeling sample practice. As I said before, you should never start reading the passage before you look at the questions. But before, let's look at the title and then we'll move to the questions and analyze them. How a boat is lifted on the Falkirk wheel. Okay, this is the title of the passage. Now let's move to the question. Okay, here you can see a diagram. Okay, in the passage, the structure of this diagram is clearly explained and we should find the answers. Okay, let's start from question number 20. A pair of something, so you need noun here, are lifted in order to shut out water from canal basin. So keyword here is pair of something. So pair means two, okay, are lifted. So this is another keyword that we'll be looking for in the passage. Now let's move to the passage and see. Okay, here from the text you should find item that is lifted and it is in pairs. So okay, let's search for the word pair or two. Okay, you can see it here. Two hydraulic steel gates are raised. So this is synonym for the word lifted, so as to seal the gondola off from the water in the canal basin, and the answer is hydraulic steel gates. Okay, if you remember, we found the answer hydraulic steel gates, and according to instructions we should write one word only, and a pair of gates are lifted in order to shut out water from canal basin. Why? Because when we are selecting word from a phrase, we should focus on the main word, and hydraulic and steel, these are the words that are defining gates. So it means gates are hydraulic and gates are made from steel, but the main word is gates. Okay, let's move to the next question. Okay, something is taken out, enabling wheel to rotate. So we need noun here, and keyword is taken out and wheel to rotate. So logically, they should take out something, letting the wheel rotate. Okay, or in other words, there is something that stops or blocks wheel from rotating, and we should take it out. Okay, let's identify this item in the passage. Okay, we should find synonyms or word itself that is taken out. Okay, as you can see, we have word removed. So this is very good synonym for the word take out. So we should read this chunk and identify what item should be removed to enable wheel to rotate. Okay, so a hydraulic clamp which prevents or stops the arms of the wheel moving. So moving is a synonym for the word rotate, while the gondola is docked is removed, allowing, so enabling the wheel to turn or rotate. So the answer is hydraulic clamp, because we should remove hydraulic clamp so wheel can rotate. Okay, again we have similar situation. The answer was hydraulic clamp, but again we have to write one word only, and the word is clamp, because hydraulic means that the clamp is hydraulic, so it is like clarifying the structure or, let's say, feature of the clamp. So the main word is clamp. Now let's move to the next question. Okay, hydraulic motors drive something, so we should write noun here, and we should identify what is driven or brought into the movement by hydraulic motors. Okay, let's move to the passage. So let's find the word hydraulic motors from the passage. Okay, we have it here. Okay, so hydraulic motors. Now we should read this part of the passage carefully. Okay, in the central machine room, an array of 10 hydraulic motors then begins to rotate. So this is very good paraphrase of the word drive. The central axle. So hydraulic motors drive or begin to rotate central axle. Okay, and we should select one word, and the main word here is axle. Okay, okay, so the answer here is axle. Now let's move to the next question, question number 23. A range of different sized something, so we need noun here as well, ensures boat keeps upright. So here we have keywords that is different sized. Ensures or make sure that boat is upright, so it's not moving in any direction. So okay, let's see. Okay, here in the passage we should find range of what or different sized what keeps the boat upright. So if we read, we have as the wheel rotates, the gondolas are kept in the upright position by a simple gearing system. Okay, now we should identify what items of different sizes are used in this gearing system. So we continue reading. Two 8-meter wide cogs orbit a fixed inner cog of the same width, connected by two smaller cogs traveling in the opposite direction to the outer cogs, so ensuring that the gondolas always remain level. So as you notice it, we have two 8-meter cogs, then we have fixed inner cog of the same weights connected by two smaller cogs, so we have cogs of different size here. So the answer is cogs. Okay, the answer is cogs. You should understand that we have range of something, so the answer is going to be plural. Okay, now let's move to the next question. Boat reaches top wheel, who then moves directly onto something. So you see, okay, we should find the name of this part. So okay, let's move to the passage. Okay, let's continue reading. When the gondola reaches the top. So if you remember, this is the key word that we should use. The boat passes straight onto the aqueduct situated 24 meters above the canal basin. So the answer is aqueduct. Okay? The answer is aqueduct. Okay? Now, let's move to the next question. Boat travels through tunnel beneath Roman something. So I think this question is quite straightforward. We should find the name of this part, and okay, keyword is Roman something. Okay, let's move to the text and find the answer. Okay, so the keyword is Romans and we have it here, so we should read this part carefully. Okay, the wheel could not be constructed to elevate boats over the full 35-meter difference between the two canals, owing to the presence of the historically important Antonine Wall, which was built by the Romans in the 2nd century AD. Boats travel under this wall, so they travel under the wall that is built by the Romans. So the answer is Roman wall. Okay, the answer is Roman wall. Now, let's move to the last question. Okay, something raised boat 11 meter to level of Union Canal. So the key word here is Union Canal, and of course the most important one, 11 meters. Why? Because searching for numbers is always easier in IELTS reading. Now, let's move to the passage and find out what raises boats 11 meters. Okay? Okay, here in the passage you can see 11 meters. And now we should read this part carefully. The remaining 11 meters of lift needed to reach the Union Canal, which is second keyword, is achieved by means of pair of locks. Means of means with the help of. So with the help of pair of locks. And the answer is locks. Okay, the answer for the last 26th question is locks. Now we have completed diagram completion, and as you saw, this is quite interesting question type in IELTS reading. Okay, next question type that we'll practice together is filling the gaps with words from a list or box. So, as I mentioned before, so I'm repeating this again and again, you should always follow these instructions. You should read title only, then you move to the questions, and then only you start searching the answer in the passage. Okay, this is epigenetic processes. Now we will move to the questions. Okay, so here, so we should complete summary. As you remember from the previous classes, summary is shorter version of the text, and now we should be searching for the meaning. Now let's analyze the first question. In epigenetic processes, okay, something influence the activity of our genes, for example in creating our internal something. So it's better to cover both questions. Now, before we try to locate the answers from the passage, we should analyze vocabulary, I mean words that are given in the box. Okay, this is nurture, organs, code, chemicals, environment, and behavior. So after this, okay, we should highlight the keyword. So in epigenetic processes, something influences the activity of our genes. So something may change or somehow affect our genes. So DNA, we should locate the part of the passage. Now we should try to locate answers from the passage. So if you remember, we have to find what may influence our genes. Okay, so in epigenetic processes. Now, epigenetic processes, so this is the first keyword, are chemical reactions tied to neither nature or nurture, but representing what researchers have called a third component. These reactions influence how our genetic code is expressed. So, gene is paraphrased as genetic code, and what is influencing? Reactions. However, we don't have this word in the list, so we should look at the passage. Look, this is chemical reactions. So, moving to the question, we can see that in epigenetic processes, so the best match here is answer D. Chemicals influence the activity of our genes. For example, in creating our internal. So, how it is influencing. So, what is example here? Now, let's go back to the passage and try to locate answer for the second question as well. So we continue. These reactions influence how our genetic code is expressed, how each gene is strengthened or weakened, even turned on or off to build our bones, brains, and all other parts of our bodies. So this is example: bones, brains, and other parts of our bodies. Now we will look at the list here. So here we have D, chemicals influence the activity of our genes, and what? Internal, okay, the best match here is organs, because brain, bones, and other parts of our body are organs. Now, let's continue, okay? Here you can see the study of epigenetic processes is uncovering, so showing, proving a way in which our genes can be affected, influenced by our, okay? Now we should locate the answer from the passage, okay? Let me erase this. We'll move to the passage, okay? One way the study of epigenetics is revolutionizing our understanding, so this is very good paraphrasing for uncovering of biology, is by revealing a mechanism by which the environment directly impacts on genes. So impact is a good synonym for the word influence, affect, so the answer is environment. Now we should try to find word that may cover this meaning, and fortunately we have the word environment here. So this is chemicals, these are the organs, and the third one is going to be environment. Now let's move to the next question. One example is that if a pregnant rat suffers from stress, the newborn rat may later show problems in its, okay? So here we should remember that we cannot use the word chemicals, organs, or environment. So we have nurture, code, or behavior, okay? So before we go to the text, let me clean it. Okay. So now, studies of animals, for example, have shown that when a rat experiences stress during pregnancy, it can cause epigenetic changes in a fetus that lead to behavioral problems. So the answer is obvious. The answer is behavior. So this is chemicals, this is organs, and here we have environment, and of course behavior. So as you can see, this task is quite simple and straightforward. The only thing required from IELTS candidates is to understand the meaning of the text and choose appropriate synonyms or words. Okay, next practice is table completion, as you can see here, and again we will read just title and directly move to the question. So reducing the effects of climate change. Now we'll move to the question, and of course it's here. As you can see, it says one word from the passage. Okay, geoengineering project, and here we have procedure and aim. Whenever you're given table, you should keep in mind that this is quite simple because you will have titles, and of course it will help you a lot. So what we should do here, we should write action taken by scientists or other people, and here the purpose, reason why. Okay, so first, put a large number of tiny spacecraft into orbit far above Earth. So aim is to create a sunshade that would reduce the amount of light reaching Earth. So they actually put spacecrafts into orbit in order to create a sunshade. So here we have place something in the sea, and the aim is to encourage something to form. Okay, let's see. Okay, the majority of geoengineering projects so far carried out, which include planting forests in deserts and depositing iron in the ocean. So depositing, it means putting iron in the ocean to simulate the growth of algae. So have focused on achieving a general cooling of the earth. So the word sea has been paraphrased as the ocean, so meaning that this is the water. And of course depositing iron, and of course they wanted to number of algae grow. So these are the words, and moving to the table here, place iron in the sea to encourage algae to form. And now, next, release aerosol sprays into the stratosphere. Okay, why? To create something that would reduce the amount of light reaching Earth. Now, keyword here is aerosol sprays. So they actually, and of course stratosphere. Now, let's move to the text. Okay. Now, but some look specifically at reversing the melting at the poles, particularly the Arctic. The reasoning is that if you replenish the ice sheets and frozen waters of the high latitudes, more light will be reflected back into space, so reducing the warming of the oceans and atmosphere. The concept of releasing aerosol sprays into the stratosphere above the Arctic has been proposed by several scientists. Okay, now we should find the aim. This would involve using sulfur or hydrogen sulfate aerosols so that sulfur dioxide would form clouds. So the aim is forming clouds, to create clouds that would reduce the amount of light. So here we have iron and here we have algae. Okay? Now here there is the most important part of every IELTS reading practice, keyword table. You should analyze every reading as long as you accomplish and finish it. So food plants, if you remember in the first practice in the booklet, has been paraphrased as hothouse production in the passage, or already grown has been paraphrased as not new. So this is very important technique that you should master and of course practice on a regular basis. Okay, so here consumption of fossil fuel has been actually paraphrased as fossil fuel use, and agricultural vehicles, okay, have been paraphrased or clarified as tractors or plows. Okay, and finally your home assignment. First of all, you should complete 10 tests from 1 to 10, passage 1 only from 40 reading practice tests published by Thompson School. And of course, as always, you should check your answers and prepare a keyword table for each test. And of course, you should work on your mistakes, improve your pitfalls. I understand it might take some time, but I believe you have enough patience and you will do well. And of course, translate and learn all the vocabulary. In fact, reading is the best source to improve your lexical resource, vocabulary, because you will be able to see the words in usage, how they are used, and of course their collocation. Okay, thank you for your attention, guys. See you next time.